What's up, boys and girls? What's happening?
How are you, Bill? Bill Rabinowitz from the Dispatch.
Hey, Bill.
When you look at last year's Cal tape, I imagine as a defensive coach, it's probably not an easy thing to see. What were your impressions, and how confident are you that you guys are beyond the problems that you had last year?
Well, I think it's twofold. Your question, to answer your question, is twofold. Different offense that we're playing. And I think different personnel and a little bit different scheme, what we're talking about, doing it for the most part. I think this offense is totally different than last year's offense. I think Coach Dykes is more of the, fast pace, get the ball out quick type offense, so we have to have a little bit different plan than last year's plan. So I think it's different. I mean, obviously, I don't think we looked at last year's tape.
Would that have been painful to look at?
Probably, but a different offense.
Everett, along those lines, did you find yourself looking at a lot of previous stops or La Tech film as you try and break it down, or are you now more zoned in on the first 2 weeks, or is there a balance between the two?
Early this spring, we looked at a lot of La Tech tape. In fact, exclusively, obviously, because there was no game tape. And as you look at what they're doing now, it's on par with what they did at La Tech. Obviously, they've got a young quarterback, so the young quarterback is probably not as immersed as the quarterback from La Tech. He's pretty talented.
Yeah, with that in mind, Everett, they're averaging like 90-something plays a game. How do you prepare for that? I mean, this week against a team that's going to run maybe 25, 30 more plays than y'all have been seeing.
Right.
That's their design anyway.
Right. Well, obviously we have to have a pretty on-point practice plan as far as how we're going to work practice. We got to get that scout team to really give us a look and maybe give them 3 or 4 plays at once and say, hey, just run them. Just run them. Because when you're running teams like this, they really don't care what you line up in a lot of times. They're just going to run plays. They're just running plays. Now, if they see some kind of look that they don't like, then they'll stop, look to the sideline, and get a different play, especially with a young quarterback. So we get that a little bit from our offense, so that's helped us during camp and throughout the spring. So that helps us a lot with that. But I think just designing practice so we can get those looks and be able to get our calls real fast. We got to be real simple in how we call it and just get lined up and play ball.
What stands out about their young quarterback? Obviously, he leads the nation in passing right now after 2 games.
Sure.
Anyway. Passing yardage. I mean, did you see them pile a little more on him this week than they did last week?
No, I don't think there was much more piled on to him. I think he has a good grasp of the offense. Obviously, this is one of those offenses you just call plays and you go. So he's getting it and calling it. So it's not a whole lot that's on his plate right now. But he seems to manage it. He doesn't seem overwhelmed at all with running what they do.
Talk about Von Bell's progress. I know he's doing really well in special teams. How close is he? I'm sure you feel good. You have 2 guys at star you can play. But how close is that competition with Von Bell and Tyvis Powell there at star?
Von's still growing in the process of learning that position. So we've tried to get him some reps. Whether it be 3 or 4 in the first game and 6 or 7 in the second game. Just trying to grow him in that position because obviously you're trying to have 2 deep. We'll probably need 2 stars this week to play. So the more reps we can get him, the better we're going to be down the road, injury-wise and just depth-wise overall. But he's growing in the spot. I think Tyvis is ahead of him by ways.
But the depth in general, safety, seems like you guys have a nice luxury there. I mean, CJ misses the first game. You have guys like Ron Tanner and Pitt Brown you can stick in there. Just can you talk about the depth at safety?
Well, I think anytime you have 3 seniors that have played some snaps here, you can say you have depth. You have to, obviously, they got to be good in your system. And I think Ron, Pitt, obviously CJ and Christian have good studied the plan pretty well and know what to do. And, we're just trying to develop the depth at star, and I think that's coming along fine.
Back middle, all right. Hey, Coach, speaking of Von Bell, your relationship with him at the end of his recruitment was well documented, and how you kind of approach that recruitment with, knowing the people that are close to him and
Right.
friends and all that.
Right.
When you talk about the entire scope of just how you guys approach that, have you seen the entire staff kind of take that same approach under Meyer's guidance with being able to meet everybody that could be get the tentacles around everybody is the way it was put. I mean, have you seen the staff grow?
Yeah, I think that's part of part of what we try to do in recruiting is get to know all the, what we call champions, the people who are going to help make the decisions. I think that's really important to try to know, and people who have an idea. Kids talk to a lot of different people, and if you know all the people that they talk to, then you got a better chance of figuring out what they want to do. So I think, our staff's growing in that way.
Coach, when a team will run a play a handful of times during a game, like Cal does with their sort of jumbo wishbone, how much time can you spend preparing for something like that? Because they only do it a handful of times, and yet it seems like they're counting on you being unfamiliar with it to sort of do something with it.
Well, it helps us that they ran it at La Tech, so we're able to go back and look at it. We've studied it, at La Tech, so they're doing basically the same plays. Obviously, we know there's something different. It's never going to be the exact same plays all the time. They're going to have something totally different out of it. So, yeah, we get a chance to study it a lot.
But how much time can you devote to it in practice when it's something they only do a little bit, and yet?
We spend time on it. We usually go out on Sunday, and that's one of the first things we do on Sunday when we go out is try to look at short yardage goal line, and that's really where they're running it. And we try to get a plan right then and there, and then we develop it over the week, and just try to come up with something simple to be able to line up and play.
Do they run more at it or throw more at it?
I think they're going to look at what you're in, how many guys you got loaded up in the box, and decide whether they're going to take the one-on-ones outside.
Play a true freshman quarterback. Does it allow you to be more aggressive in how you may call a defense, particularly up front, and especially when you get guys like Roby and CJ back to make you a little bit more confident on the back end?
I think what you see on offense determines on how aggressive you can be. I mean, this is basically an empty offense. I mean, they got a back in the backfield, but he's lined up outside the tackle, basically. He's got 1 foot in the box. So they're 5 out every snap. So being aggressive this week may not be the same as being aggressive last week versus a 2-back power, 1-back, 11 personnel team. This is getting everybody out in the route. So what you mean by aggressive may not be the same this week as it was last week.
Coach, there are some coaches out there, I think, who don't like this up-tempo style of football and the defenses can't stop against it. Do you not like it? Do you think it's bad for the game at all or anything?
I bet you those guys that don't like it are all defensive guys.
Yeah, the offensive guys seem to like it.
Yeah, they seem to like it a lot. I mean, it's interesting. I won't get to watch the game tonight, but I'm kind of interested in watching the Eagles game, see what's going to happen there tonight. I think it gets a lot of guys on the field offensively. It's good for the offensive game. It's good for recruiting, I'm sure, as far as skill guys. Defensively, it's a part of the time, just like anything else. The wishbone, the run and shoot. Now this, it'll come back to 2-back, 1-back pretty quick.
And you talked about maybe 2 stars for this game. Are you going to be in the dime a lot? 60 feet?
We're working on that plan right now. I can't give that to you.
We've seen that in practice. Do you like what you guys can do with
Yes. Like it a lot. I think we have to. I think today's game, you have to be able to do that. Good.